Hello everyone, thank you for joining us once again for the I'll Try That podcast. I'm Matthew Barber. Joining me this week are Richard Drabwell.
Hello.
Joseph Druitt.
Ahoy hoy.
And I've already mentioned me, so never mind, but okay, nice and smooth, we like that. Oh, three, it feels like it's been a while since we've had three of us, you lucky little sausages.
Is that what we're calling our listener base? Sausages?
Yeah, well, I've done it now.
Isn't like Lady Gaga has the monsters, they call them the little monsters.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I'm just seeing that it's like...
And our fan base is the little sausages.
Yeah.
Apparently Believers had been copyrighted, so we weren't going to get that.
Yeah.
I was just going to say it for a few weeks to see if it caught on, but now we've drawn attention to it, so that's only going to be...
We could always start each episode with, and welcome to you all, you little sausages.
I'm up for it.
I feel like our listener base might disown us, if I'm honest.
Quite possibly. We'll move swiftly on then.
Why don't we let people message us and see what they like to be called then?
Yeah, don't give us a name. Right, we'll move swiftly on then. Today, despite what you've just heard, today is going to be a great episode. We're doing a very special episode today in that we've got a nice announcement of a new beer from our resident fans' favourite brewery, Timothy Taylor's. So we will be talking about Hopical Storm in our hop topic. That's not too many times to get the word hop into a sentence. So we'll be talking about them. And then later on in our pursuit of hoppiness, we're actually going to be talking about Wild Beer Co., who is interesting, actually. I think we're just going to simply refer to them as a British brewery. So we're not travelling afar for this one. But they're an interesting... a lot has happened in their history, which is a relatively short one, but they are a Californian brewer. This is self-dubbed a Californian brewer, an Englishman, and a love of wild fermentation and a desire to challenge the perceptions of beer. So, yeah, we've got a belter in store for you. So I think I'm passing over first to Joe to get us started on our hop topic.
Thank you, Matthew. Yes, so we're all abrim with excitement over here at the I'll Try That podcast as we talk about a new beer from Timothy Taylor. Usually, I can't remember the last time Timothy Taylor did a launch of a new beer with such fanfare, because there's been a lot of announcement about this. We saw them last year when this exact beer, Hopical Storm, when we were at the craft beer show in London last year. And then now they have very kindly sent us some beers to try, and with a bit of spiel, which we will get through, and then we'll talk about our honest reactions about this. So, Timothy Taylor's Hopical Storm, a striking triple hopped pale ale. Strike thirst. Unleash a tropical cyclone of refreshment with this 4% triple hop sessionable pale ale topped with flavours of mandarin, mango, and passion fruit.
Brewed the Cascade and White Bread Goldings in the copper, Cascade and Chinook at the hop backstage, and then dry hopping with Jester and Ernest.
All combining with natural Knoll spring water, fine barley malts, and our unique Taylor's Taste yeast to create the tropical storm of flavour and aroma. Available in 12 times 440ml can and 30-litre e-keg.
Well done, boys. First take. I'm very pleased with that. That's great.
I don't do more than one take.
What's an e-keg?
An electronic keg, isn't it?
Don't
ask me what that is, though.
I think it comes to you from the metaverse, doesn't it?
Oh God, I hate the metaverse.
You can actually send them via email, I'm told.
No, the 30-litre e-kegs, I don't know if you've ever seen them at a brewery, where they're clear kegs that basically you don't own the kegs, they get shipped around. It's a really cool system, very innovative, like kegging system, basically, which reduces a load of waste. Rather than using those like metal kegs, you use these like reinforced plastic kegs with like a bag inside, basically, which like brewers use to kind of ship their beer around. I saw them at the Adams Brew when I was there for a tour and just thought, this is amazing. Whoever thought this up? And they're huge all around Europe, basically.
Every day's a school day.
So with their 440ml offering and their 30-litre e-kegs, I guess they're targeting both consumers and pubs on trade for this Hopical Storm.
Yeah, exactly. We've all been the lucky recipients of 3 of the 440ml cans. I'm going to consider us thankful and lucky recipients of these.
Agreed.
Let's put it out to the group and see if there's any contrasting opinion. Oh no! Stem my flow.
I'm going to jump in before Drabbers has a say, and I'm just going to say, for the first and foremost, I have never had a Timothy Taylor's in a can before, so I'm very pleased that they've put a can out there. I think this is Timothy Taylor doing something quite modern for Timothy. You know, like this is a very traditional, old school. You know, as in they've been around. They're established. It's probably Let me strike from the record traditional and old school as words that I'll attach to Timothy Taylor's. Let me put established and kind of well known in the British sphere, as a brewer goes. And the fact that they're doing this can, which has got a pretty funky design, if I must say, as designs go, it's bright orange with this huge lightning strike through the middle, where you've got Timothy Taylor's Hopical Storm Pale written through the middle of it.
It's a big, black, bold writing saying Tropical Storm, leaving nothing.
Hopical Storm, I think you'll find.
That's as maybe, Joe. They have actually at least called it what it's called.
And who doesn't like a good pun in a name, right?
Yeah, I know. We've just only had one in every episode since this episode. So big fans.
Drabbers, you may speak now.
I've just been holding my tongue. Thought baby Barbara might want to say something before me.
That's all right. You go first, Sunshine, and I'll just this little can of whoop ass we'll put over to one side for now.
All right. So I may have been relatively outspoken against Timothy Taylor's in the past.
No.
What? No, you haven't.
They may not be my favourite brewery in the world.
You're saying that like there's a butt coming, but I don't think there is.
I think you're just going to stop talking there.
And I quite like the can design, and I will throw it out there. The liquid isn't that bad.
Okay.
Are you getting the mandarin, mango, and passion fruit?
I would maybe like to be getting it a bit more, but I do get a little whifter in. I think whifter's the right word. I may have made it up, but that's the word I'm going to use.
I can get on board with a whifter. I like what you're saying with whifter.
It's definitely a made-up word. So I didn't want to be...
All right, word police over there.
Yeah. I haven't got my hat on today. Drabbers, I didn't want to do you an injustice. I didn't want to labour under a misapprehension. I wasn't sure when we were signing up to do this episode whether it was that you absolutely hated Timothy Taylor's as a brewery, or if it was that you particularly hated... hated is a strong word, but I think it's appropriate at this point. Yeah, whether you hated just Landlord, the beer, or if it was on the back of when we did taste this last August, whether it was that you really didn't like Hopical Storm. So I need some clarity.
So I think when I tasted Hopical Storm last time, I was maybe 9-10 pints into some of the best beer I think I've tried in a long time. I think we can all agree there. We tried some fantastic beer that day, and maybe I was a little bit jealous of how all ripped the Timothy Taylor's team were. But that's
as in like muscular.
Muscular,
They were
just they were muscular, weren't they?
They were.
I'd like to suggest that I was more interested in the beer at the time.
I think the beer was very much a sideshow to the spectacle that we were witnessing from the Timothy Taylor bar.
Yeah, it's something for everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that was maybe my point, that I'd tried an incredible amount of fantastic beer up to that point, and I wasn't a Landlord fan. I have no problem with Timothy Taylor. I have a problem with Landlord. It would be weird if I had a problem with the whole of Timothy Taylor. I have a problem with Landlord, and I do not like Landlord at all whatsoever.
I was going to say, because that's been the basis of our I'm not going to say argument, our disagreement.
Our disagreement, yeah.
Is a respectful-ish disagreement that's being on.
I don't like Landlord. Landlord.
That goes around your neck, I think.
I do not mind Hopical Storm.
Okay, so you do not like Landlord when you should. Yeah, so the only bit I'd argue with you on that is actually, yes, we did have a very good time at the Craft Beer Festival. I don't think everything we'd had up until we tried Hopical Storm was great. We had some, I can't remember whose it was, but a couple of them were absolutely foul.
I think there was one that was like some sort of like lime key pie flavored sour beer. That was not good for me. I did not enjoy that one whatsoever. But I think you're right. I think there's something very. I just like the fact that Timothy Taylor's is doing something different. They're trying something different here. And I think this is so out of their normal beer portfolio. That's why I think it's quite interesting. And I, just from the can design and like how they're talking about it, and as I said, the fact that they're like promoting this as like a whole launch, that is very unusual. I really praise that. But I also think that the fact that the liquid itself is very quintessential for Timothy Taylor. It's got a kind of a Timothy Taylor like thread to it, but it is a 4%, triple hopped pale ale, so it is something a little bit different. It is definitely not Landlord. Let's put it that way. This is a very different beer, but it still feels Timothy Taylor. So I quite like the fact that they're trying something new. Basically, is my summation of this Hopical Storm. I like the fact that they're trying to do something different, and I applaud that.
Everybody likes a trier.
I am a big fan of it, and also, flavour profile for a 4%er, that's not bad. I think the amount that you'd expect to actually taste when you're drinking a 4% beer is something that's just going to sit in the background. I think if you're someone who likes quite a strong tasting beer with that's the phrase I keep using, bold hop profile, and you want to have something that's not strong, this is not a bad match. In that case, I'm not sure if I get the mandarin, kumquat, mango, or no, that might be that my taste buds just aren't that refined. But I like the fact that it's kind of rubbing shoulders with a full blown kind of stronger IPA without giving you that kick in the head of a like 5.6% sort of.
I wanted to ask you guys, who do you think this Hopical Storm is for? Who do you think they've brewed it for?
The kids.
It's the I know 4 or 5 7-year-olds who'd really like this. It is. I would to elaborate on Travis's point, as maybe the younger drinker, the slightly more trendy Ray-Ban wearing. Actually, they're not even that young, Ray-Ban wearers, are they?
I was going to say Ray-Bans. They probably wouldn't be even caught dead in Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
I'm interested with your answers to that, boys, because I feel the opposite. I feel like this isn't for a young audience. I feel like this is for a Timothy Taylor consumer, but who is open to trying different types of beers. Who's quite like, they're like maybe they're like son or friends, like they've tried a more
I know what you're driving at.
kind of a newer kind of craft brewer. They're quite like a brew dog, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've seen what a vocation is.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of beer, and then they're up, but they want to stay at home, so they see something that's coming close for their Timothy Taylors, and they're like, I like Timothy Taylors, let's give it a go. And so I think that's a slam dunk, because I honestly feel I think this Hopical Storm is going to be with the kind of more, if you're into your edgy craft beers, I'm not sure this is going to tick your box, especially a younger consumer, like a Tiny Rebel consumer, probably isn't going to like this Hopical Storm in their palate. It's not going to be their wheelhouse, personally. That's my gut feel. Whereas I think there's a huge market for people to of people that want from a well-known brewery a nice 4% like kind of craftier brew, and I feel like this hits that bang on. I feel there's a big market for this.
I think they're brewing it for people like us,
right?
The people in their 30s, early 30s.
That's possibly a good way to put it, because not young as such, but maybe younger than your typical Landlord drinker. That's possibly a better way.
That's it. That's my thinking.
So actually, it would make sense for me that it would appeal more to drabbers, because I'm actually the resident old man of the group. Did the listeners know I'm 68? I'm not sure. Absolutely adores Landlord. Picks this up off the shelf. Oh, I don't know about this. Apparently I'm from Yorkshire as well.
Well, you're from Yorkshire, which is where Timothy Taylors are. So there you
go. But it's I thought that maybe it was, when I first heard about it, I heard pale 4%, and I thought it was sort of maybe going after the fans of, again, consider myself one of them. We did them a while ago. I think you and I, Joe, did Purity, and we had Mad Goose, which is one of my favourite beers.
Yes.
But that's kind of more of an old school pale, whereas I think a key point of difference here is that this is dry hopped.
Yes.
And that will be a bit of a difference maker for what I would call the old school drinkers of Landlord. So I think that's what's bringing down the likely average age of the consumer for this beer.
Well, commend Timothy Taylor's for this this beer. It's a very different type of beer than they usually have. I think it's gone down really well personally, and I think the design and the launch that they've done around this is making some serious some turning some heads. So well done, especially if you're seeing it in cans as well.
Expect to see more of it. Yeah, big time.
Hopefully, I hope to see more of it. You're right. I think it's a good call. I hope they do make other beers to tag along with this Hopical Storm. Should we talk some wild beer, Co? Should go through the go hunting for some wild beers.
Okie dokie,
Yes.
matey.
Sounds
What
good.
makes it a wild beer? Does anyone know?
What is wild about these beers? So I know that the brewer is founded by a Californian brewer and an Englishman. So what more do you want? So apparently they came together through their love of wild fermentation and a desire to challenge the perceptions of beer. So maybe wild is more talking about their brewing style than it is about the fact that they're a crazy brewer.
So I thought I knew something about this, without looking as well. So I don't want to impress the pants off anyone too much, but I thought that this was so weirdly there was a wild beer bar here where I live in Cheltenham for several years. And I think these guys started in 2012. And I think they had perhaps struggled a little bit in previous years because there was a wild beer bar here that then actually I think the people who went there really enjoyed it. They used to do this was particularly at a time when I was craft beer was a bit of a new thing, and I can remember them almost being the very first people with a little wooden board, and you have little tasting selection of the beers in little chalices where you have a 2/3 pint and that sort of thing. And I don't know, I must have just plucked it from the clear blue sky, something about the yeast not actually being a beer yeast, but being a quote wild yeast that is not particularly well categorized, almost like they didn't know what it is, or something like that.
Right.
I appreciate the detail is missing here, but I thought it was to do with using wild yeasts as well as that was the main thing basically. I'm gonna have to do more research on it and confirm.
Is it also they do a hell of a lot of barrel aging by the look of it as well?
Yes, it's a big part of theirs, right?
Well, I was looking, they do 600 strong barrel library, which they've got barrels that are whiskey, sherry, rum, port, tequila, and brandy. So we're looking at a variety of different alcohols that infuse into their beer, which I think is pretty cool.
I think they do different types of barrel-aged beers that come out every year. So last year's ones were all 2022, obviously. But they have one that's called a modus operandi, which is a barrel-aged sour red. It's all about blending different batches, bringing it. So it sounds like there's quite a bit of an art form going in behind the scenes of wild beer. They've got also one called Schnoodlepip, which I quite like. I just like the name Schnoodlepip. That's funny. And that's a fruit sour with passion fruit, hibiscus, and pink pepper, which sounds interesting to boot.
Bibble.
Talk to me about Bibble.
Bibble, Session Pale Ale, Mosaic Hop.
Oh, are you bibbling, are you?
Apparently, that's come from, and I think these guys, also, I know they definitely used to have a bar down in Bristol, but I think they're maybe Somerset, West Country way.
They are Somerset, that's where they started.
That's it, because the Bibble was Somerset, drink loudly, often and well. Is
okay.
what I mean.
Also come from their humble roots, because they clearly started in somewhere where isn't a brewery. They started in their kitchen, brewing with 3 barrels.
Nice. You can identify with that, can't you?
I can't. Yeah, I brewed in 1 barrel in my kitchen.
Got to start somewhere.
I like these guys as well. I had Grabbers very kindly when he came to visit, brought some wild beers, and I tried them. I actually consumed them with my dad, and both of us thoroughly enjoyed these. I think we had the wild IPA.
Yeah, that's the one.
And that's
the one I've
that
got.
was from the can as well. From the bottle.
Bottle, yeah.
But you can get it in a can form as well. But anyway, that beer was fantastic. I really enjoyed that wild IPA. So much so I have none left to drink right now during this episode because we consumed all of them. And I was in my mind, I was like, I'm definitely going to have to save one for this episode. But I was like, oh, these are too good. I need another one. But they're delicious. But I do notice as well, wild beer, they also have a whole alcohol-free range, which they called their this first one I'm just noticing is a grapefruit IPA soda.
Oh,
So I
okay.
think that's quite funny. They're calling it a soda in itself. But I know that Wild Beer have went on some quite troubling times, didn't they, Barbara? I think you mentioned earlier on that they ran into a bit of trouble.
Yeah, so actually I think the bar I was talking about seemed to close up sometime before, despite what was apparent popularity. But I understand they actually went into administration in 2022, and I think they've since been bought out again, and actually are now going through a revival, which I'm imagining also is because I seem to have. Again, seeing them around, I'm sure I'd seen them in shops previously, and then they seem to disappear, and they now seem to be back. So I imagine whoever is now backing them has probably got some better distribution networks, because I think these are available in mainstream UK supermarkets as well. Actually, the current ownership is a new one on me.
I've got a bit of information to give you on that one. So the Wild Brew Co. is now owned by the same backers who own Curious Brewery. So we talked about Curious in a previous episode. So Curious Brewery was a brewery that started on the Chapel Down estate, well-known Kentish, kind of wine and bubblies, great manufacturers. Anyway, they built a state-of-the-art brewery on their estate, and span out this kind of brand called Curious Brewery. They also went into some sort of financial difficulty, obviously because of COVID and everything that was happening there. So what happened was that this investment firm stepped in, bought Curious Brewery, but kept like the senior, like all the staff in, basically, including the head brewers. So it's still the Curious Brewery, kind of like what they plan to do with the brewery is still happening. But they got the financial support they needed, and it sounds as if as well that they obviously the Wild Beer Co. also went through the same thing, and these investment people stepped in and bought them as well. So they've set out like a press release on their Twitter, which they've pinned, to basically say that it's part of the Curious Brewery kind of like the portfolio that they're putting together, this investment firm. But you're right, Barbs. You can find Wild Beer Co. at Waitrose, Sainsbury's, and Majestic, as well as the Royal Opera House.
Oh, I don't often do my shopping there, weirdly. Travis, you wanted to say something, but I need to cut in, but I can hold it if what you bursting. Go.
I really feel my point isn't going to make much more to this episode if I make
it.
So it's all on you, Barbara. This
better be the best comment ever, Barbara.
It's really not, but how's this for serendipity? Serendipity, I think. Do you want to have a look? I'm drinking Madness West Coast IPA, which is it's very bold.
Are you getting some hairs on your chest?
Yeah, at long last as well. Can you see? I'm going to hold up to the camera. Can you see? I'm drinking. Can you see what glass I'm drinking this out of?
No,
it's pretty subtle. It's a red almond diamond shape with a question mark in the middle.
Oh, it's a Curious Brewery glass.
I'm drinking out of the Curious Brew glass that I've got. So if that's not, bloody hell.
That's not topical. I don't know what is.
Flipping heck, mate.
But Bob, Travers, I think you were talking about the barrel aging, and they have impressive photos on their Instagram, website, wherever, of all these different barrels with the Wild Beer Co. Like, what is their logo? It looks like some sort of like
stag, isn't it?
It's a stag, isn't it? Yeah, with two evil eyes
and a line down the middle of his head.
Yeah, it's definitely a stag, which is quite cool. But yeah, they're definitely a stag. But their barrel aging, they're saying, is it 600 plus barrels they've got? Every day, our 600 strong barrel library is quietly imparting, from its previous inhabitants into our beer, which is pretty cool. So they're constantly infusing all of their barrel aged beers, which I think is fancy.
Do we understand that they have the special brewing qualification? Do we know about this?
Ooh,
have we talked about this?
What is this? What is? Have we heard about this?
So, that's a tickled Joe. Have you heard about this? Have you seen this? I understand the brewers from Wild Beer Co. are Heriot Watt qualified, have qualifications from Heriot Watt University.
Now, where have we heard of this recently?
I know what you're thinking. Heriot what? Thank you very much. Have we heard this recently? Have you heard about this? Have you seen this?
We did talk about it off air, but we didn't actually bring it up as part of the hot topic earlier on.
Oh, hang on. I might be getting confused as to whether it was Timothy Taylor's or Wild Beer. Oh, no.
I was going to say, this is sounding very familiar.
Yeah.
I've blown the whole thing. Sorry, everyone.
So, yes, you've got we're fact checking you live on air. The Timothy Taylor's brewers are Heriot Watt trained brewers, which is a brewery school up in Edinburgh. I think we found out earlier. I don't know about the Wild Beer Co.
Yeah.
If they have also gone there.
Better bin the last 45 seconds then.
Yeah. These guys just learnt in their kitchen.
Yeah. But one of them's from California, which apparently makes a big difference in what they do. So there you go.
There you go. Nice. All right. Well, so I also missed. So I was on the madness. You guys had drunk all of your beer that you had for Wild Beer. Was that right?
No, I've still got mine. Which
one? Sorry, which one was it that you had then?
I've got a wild IPA flavoured by fermentation.
I see. What do you think? Is it enjoyable? Are you having a nice one? Will you have another one?
It is thoroughly enjoyable. You can really taste the fermentation.
Yeah, you'd hope so, I suppose. I really like mine. However, I got level with you. This is a drum roll, please. 440ml can. It's a strong one. It's 6.5%. Do you want to have a crack at how much this cost?
$8.99.
I got 2. Well, do you know what? This is not as outrageous as that, and actually, this is going to be underwhelming then as a result. But £3.30 from a beer from a shop.
Even a 440ml, that does sound like a lot for just a can.
Particularly if you can get a good quality 500ml for £2.
So I got mine from a classic shop called Wise Buys.
Nice.
In Weymouth, which is a shop that sells stock just before it's going out of date. So this cost me £6 for 12. So I got an absolute win.
And you've got a busy week as well.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I feel like I've been robbed.
But Barbara, just to say, I don't know if that's the Wild Beer Co. setting that price or just the shop that you purchased it from.
That is true, yeah. But presumably, I kind of just assume that is based on they get it at cost price and then they mark it up what I expect would be a flat percentage to their other craft beers. But
I think you should go back to that shop because I think they've had you there, mate. If I'm honest, because you can looking at them online at Wild Brew Co. and they seem very reasonably priced. With an IPA and pale bundle for £33, and you get no, actually that doesn't sound good. No, actually, £33 for 6 beers does not sound good. What, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12? No, 12 beers. So 12 beers for £33. Yeah, no, either way, I think that's expensive.
Because I've gone to them and I've actually got unit costs. Individual price for this same one, £3.65. So actually, I saved 35p by going to the shop.
Yeah, no, this is an expensive shop. Actually, no, I look at this in a bit more detail. That is a shame. I mean, obviously they're going with this whole like we're kind of
I mean, it is a thought out product, and I have no doubt that they deliver a lot of there's a lot of care given to the brews they make, and they're obviously very passionate about it. As I said, this thing about the I should come back to the point earlier on. What makes it a wild beer is that they are. Oh, what have I done? I just had a really good little soundbite for you about what it meant, and now it's gone. Oh, bear with me.
I feel like I got a really good deal for £6.
I think you did, mate, to be quite honest.
You did.
Yeah.
Although you actually, I didn't know that you bought them at a it's about to go off shop. So I'm very pleased that I did drink them because it was quite a while ago that you handed those beers to me. So I'm very pleased I consumed them a while back and not waited until this episode recorded because it would have been really off by that point.
Oh, well, you know what? It doesn't taste that bad.
So, by the way, sorry, the wild thing is to do with the presence of so I'm taking this verbatim, wild yeast or some other kind of uncontrolled or atypical microflora. So not a traditional brewer's yeast. Taking it.
I'm really pleased you went back and circled back on that.
Yeah, me too.
So, final takes on these guys on Wild Beer Co. What do you think?
I gotta say, if they're gonna crack on with that price, people are gonna within enough time and enough iterations of people going and buying a beer, they're gonna find beer that is very nearly or just as good for less.
Travis?
Yeah, they taste just as good out of date as they do in date, so it's all a win here.
Slightly different take on barbers, but similar.
Why are you foaming at the mouth, by the way?
I really enjoyed the taste of that wild IPA, and I think it tasted even better because it was free. So I am having a bit of a struggle with these prices on their website. I think that's ludicrous, like £13 for a special edition celebration beer, 750ml.
That's
Even still, I feel
spending
like
Drabber's
that's
money
a
on
lot.
beer. That's nearly 25 a bottle, sort of.
Yeah, like one can of their 440ml 10th birthday chocolate milk stout called a double decker is £5 for a can.
Yeah,
I feel like that's steep in my opinion.
they're trying to thin out the not exactly capacious field of milk stout drinkers.
Yeah. All
Exactly.
three of them are like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a bit steep. That's just down to Jeff.
It would be Jeff, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it
But I think if you can find a good deal on these wild beer codes, definitely worth
Saw
trying.
some
'Cause
going
I think
out of
they're
date.
delicious. If they're going a near out of date, Travis, what was that shop again? We can plug that shop.
Wise
while
Buys.
Wise Buys in Weymouth. Go. It's
we're on.
great.
Look out for Wise Buys.
Right, well done, everyone.
Right, shall I do the numbers?
Yes.
Shall I finish them up on numbers? Right,
Good.
okay. Let's give them a bit of service. So Wild Beer Co on Instagram have 62.7k followers. So very good. Well done them.
Ooh.
And on Twitter, the Wild Beer Co have 36k followers. So well done to them.
Ooh. Good, excellent. Well, yeah, they're worth a try as well. I should add that to my comments about the price.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barber,
and Simo.
goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter.
I'll try that podcast.com.
And watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.